So we messed up the first recording, so we're gonna do it again. This is Git and GitHub version control for beginners from our Zero to Heroes series. So what will you learn? What is GitHub? What is Git? Our essential commands for both Git and GitHub, branching and merging, and PRs. So what's the problem? So when you have a project or you have your file directory and you're iterating and making changes, sometimes you make a mistake, you fuck up, and you already saved your code. You want to go back to your prior versions, your prior iterations, right? So with Git, we make commits for each new iteration of our code to track version histories of our code and new iterations of changes. So what is Git? Git is a version control system, like I said, where you can track changes with who, what, and when, and you have the ability to revert anytime and work offline. And what is GitHub? Git is like the local, the local version of GitHub. GitHub is a cloud service of multiple Git repositories that lets you do it on any device and with friends. So Git works on your computer locally. It tracks their file changes locally and works on offline and CLI based. GitHub is a website/slash cloud service. It hosts your repos and others' repos, enables collaboration. It has a pretty UI rather than you can use the CLI, but it has a pretty UI. Okay, so these are the key terminologies. So a repo or repository is a folder tracked by Git. It contains your project and its entire history and files. A commit is a snapshot of your changes. It's essentially what you're saving and what you're pushing to Git or GitHub. A branch is a version of your code. This allows you to experiment without breaking your main repo. A merge is combining changes from one branch into another or to the main repo. And clone is to create a copy of another repo locally or I guess on a GitHub. And push and pull is to upload and download others' commits respectively. So getting started, you can install Git from git.scm.com and you configure your identity using git config and then your username and your email and create a GitHub account. It's free. So the essential commands to create a Git repository is to use git init to create a new project, git clone to download an existing project, and git status to see what's changed. Use git status constantly. It tells you what you need to do. So when you want to make, so you have git add to, to have your commit, git commit to save stage changes with a description, and then you got git push to upload your push to GitHub and pull to get the latest changes from GitHub. So understanding branches. So branches allow you to work on different features away from your main repository. So this allows you to iterate over new ideas without maybe breaking the main code base. So pull requests. So you create a branch, you make commits on your branch, and you push it to GitHub. You open a pull request to merge your changes. Your team reviews the code, and if your code is good to go, you can merge it back to the main repository. So these are the common mistakes. If you commit to the wrong branch, you can reset it. If you make a typo, you can amend it. If you forget to add something, you can always just add a new commit, amend the commit. If you need to undo, you can restore it. Git ignore just tells Git to ignore certain files and not commit them. So usually it's stuff like log files, typically like API keys, random build artifacts, that of the sort. To create your first repo, use your Linux commands to make your directory name whatever you want. Go into that directory path, then initialize your Git repository, and then make your name of your thing with the README. Add and commit the README and make it on GitHub. These are the commands that you should refer back to for different reasons. These are the takeaways. Git tracks locally, GitHub stores them in the cloud. Commit early and often. Small save states are way easier to manage than large ones for obvious reasons, like saving in a video game. Always pull before you push so you don't have merge conflicts. Use branches for new features so your main code base is stable. Write meaningful commit messages for both yourself and for others. And don't panic if you accidentally delete something.